Hello there, everyone, and welcome in. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. I tell you, we've got a long day scheduled here, and I started early, and I'm battling a cold. So the Mad Scientist mixed himself up some Gatorade, some coffee, and some cold and sinus, and I'm ready to let it rip here, man. It's quite
all in one.
Yeah.
In one drink. Oh
Yep.
goodness, I can't. I don't think I could do the coffee and Gatorade. I'm sorry, coffee's too
No,
good.
it
too
wasn't
pure.
great, but it mixed down the cold and sinus. You know what it was? I don't drink coffee. So I was trying to use the Gatorade to drown out the taste of the coffee, and it worked. It tasted like blue Gatorade and whatever regular coffee I had out there. So it was an interesting mix, but the cold and sinus seems to be doing its job, and I'm quite amped up here. It's good to go. We're going to do some sleepers, breakouts, and busts, and as you can see from the title, I have player profiler's own Jack Cavanagh joining me. Always a pleasure to have you on, Jack. How's it going?
Fantastic. It is truly always a pleasure when we get to chat, and I'm excited to break down some players heading into the NFL season. I can't believe it. We are 38 days away from kickoff.
Oh, I can't believe it either. Someone said that the other day, and they're like, this was a week or two ago. They said, we have 6 weeks till the first game. And I said, 6 weeks? Holy crap. Is it that already? But I see, that's how I can tell everything's, like I said, my feed was crashing earlier because I've got drafts going on and all sorts of scheduling in the background. And the irony is I have a hard time on the feed where you're in it, which if the feed crashes, I can just shut it off and I can probably drive down the street to your house and do it live. So I don't know why our connection, I can do it fine with a guy in California, but a guy a half hour away doesn't want to work. So go figure.
Sometimes these internet problems just don't make sense, but we're here to make sense of at least fantasy football. Can't solve the internet, can't solve your fantasy team.
I can't solve fantasy football. Who are you kidding? I got a better chance of solving the internet, but all right.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
Well, before we get into it, let's give you a second here to give yourself some credit and tell us where everyone can find you.
You can find me everywhere at Javanaugh87. You can find me on, it's no longer Twitter. I guess it's X now. You can see me zeeting over there. You can find me on Instagram as well. But more importantly, you can find me 7 days a week at 7 p.m. on Player Profiler Today. Check that out on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. We have all sorts of great content 7 days a week, bringing you all the news across the NFL. And you can find me on the Believe Network as well, Believe in Lions, alongside former Lions safety Glover Quinn. So it's going to be a lot of content coming to you real soon.
You know what the problem is going to be with this show? No matter how good your three players are, I'm going to have people tweeting me Will Levis pictures because I talked about mixing coffee, Gatorade, and cold and sinus. This is going to turn into Will Levis 2.0, and I'm never going to hear the end of it.
Still better than coffee and mayo, though. Still better than coffee and mayo.
Can't be worse. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. Assuming my computer will load. It did. We have your first player. That would be Sleeper. Almost had Tennessee. Tampa Bay wide receiver. See, I've done so many of these Tampa players. I almost instinctively said Rachaad White, but it is not. It is Trey Palmer. When I told you pick a sleeper, boy, did you pick a sleeper. You went into like comatose hibernation level. Fantasy Pros wide receiver 134. Negligible rushing stats projected for 15.2 receptions, 160 receiving yards, and 0.5 receiving touchdowns. I hope you know something I don't know, because those season-long projections from Fantasy Pros are a down game for Justin Jefferson.
Well, here's what I actually know. Right now, Russell Gage is not practicing. Russell Gage also didn't practice during OTAs. He didn't practice during mandatory minicamp. Russell Gage is dealing with some sort of knee, lower body injury. And I don't know if you remember, but Russell Gage throughout his career, not the healthiest guy. He's had lots of nagging injuries. And
That's
so
true.
When they go to three wide receiver sets, the starters are, of course, Mike Evans, of course, Chris Godwin, and now Trey Palmer. And this is the emptiest of empty depth charts behind Trey Palmer. Kalen Geiger, ever heard of him? No, because he's irrelevant. These are the kinds of talents that Trey Palmer is competing with. David Moore, the former Seattle Seahawks wide receiver, is the only veteran on the team, and he's probably not even going to make it. So Trey Palmer, 160 receiving yards. That is absurd. He's going to have 500 at the very least. Russell Gage might start the season, but he's going to go down at some point. And even if he doesn't, Trey Palmer has the one thing that this Tampa Bay offense absolutely needs, and that is pure blazing speed. 4.33 40 at the combine. Guy is not small either. 192 pounds at 6 foot. Usually you see a 4.33, you think, oh, 160-pound guy. No, fastest wide receiver in the class, already working with the first team offense. This is probably the most underrated player in the draft. I don't know how he went 6th round, but we're here to correct that, and he is going to make an actual real-world difference on your fantasy football team. Mark my words.
No, absolutely. He was someone, when I did a lot of my rookie profiles, this is kind of an undersized rookie class. Sorry, can you hear my kid yelling?
Nah, you're
yelling
good.
in the background playing video games. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, it's an undersized rookie class for wide receivers, and he was one of the few that met, good size, good height, good weight, good speed. It was a real trio there of athletic
he plays
traits.
Special teams too, so even if he wasn't already the 4th wide receiver, even if he was lower on the depth chart, he'd be active because of special teams. But he's already wide receiver 4, if not wide receiver 3.
Well, not to mention, like, Evans and Godwin aren't exactly the healthiest of receivers themselves, so he definitely has the potential to be a sneaky flex play. And if you needed any more convincing, just look at where he falls in the wide receiver ranks. Wide receiver 147, so he's gone down. Some of these guys are retired. AJ Green is retired. AJ Green he's retired, right, Jack?
He is indeed. Sammy Watkins is technically not retired, but is he even on a roster right now? I don't think so.
Randall Cobb, I know, is on the Jets, but I think he's on the IR, and I don't know if he ever plays. Ronnie Bell, Kyle Phillips.
Terrible.
Kyle Phillips feels like he's low. Ronnie Bell is terrible. I was a Michigan fan. I don't mind. Go ahead.
Kyle Phillips is pretty good, but yeah, he should be higher too. But this group, Charlie Jones is the wide receiver 4-5 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Zach Pascal is the wide receiver 5 for the Cardinals. These don't matter. These players don't matter. Trey Palmer is a wide receiver 3 on his current offense.
Kendall Hinton, I think the only game anyone's ever started him in was when he was the quarterback.
Goodness.
If you don't like Trey Palmer, look no further. He doesn't even have an overall ADP. He's outside 308. So he is free. He is on waiver wires.
Benjamin, what are we doing?
Where did you see? Oh my God, 117. Travis Julio. Okay. So you're getting him. Okay. Henry Ruggs is in prison. What are we doing?
Who the hell is Stephon Robinson Jr.? I have never heard that name in my life. Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald.
Henry Ruggs is in prison. Alshon Jeffrey is retired. He is 30 wide receiver spots past guys in prison and retired. John Ross, Velus Jones is 40. I don't understand this. So if you needed any more convincing, he is someone, and he's a rookie. So even if you don't think he'll play right now, you can pick him up in a dynasty league and stash him on a taxi squad. I get it. That doesn't necessarily help you in redraft, but good God, what are we doing? Look at these guys. Okay, let's move on here to your next. Your breakout is another Tampa Bay player, the one who's been on my show much more than Trey Palmer. We have Tampa running back Rachaad White, projected as RB23, 817 yards for 4.3 touchdowns, 46.7 receptions projection for 341.3 yards and 2 touchdowns. Why is Rachaad White a breakout for you? And don't say because you work for Player Profiler. We already know that.
No, it's not because I work for Player Profiler. First of all, the receptions is glaringly wrong. 46.7 receptions when he had 50 last year as a rookie. And I know this was a pass-happy offense with Tom Brady, but he was also not the primary running back in the passing game. Leonard Fournette was there commanding targets as well. So
I feel like
you give
Lenny had a lot too.
He did. Leonard Fournette is the most underrated running back in the NFL as a pass catcher. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. He might be the most underrated running back, period, just because people think, oh, he's Fat Lenny. He sucks. No, he doesn't. He's taken a step back, but he can still get it done at the goal line and on third downs. You just don't want him as a bell cow. That's why the Buccaneers let him walk.
Okay, Lenny, before you get into it, Lenny had 73 catches last year.
Right?
I didn't realize it was that many vacated. That's insane.
73 plus 50 is 133.
Yeah.
No,
83 targets. 83 targets he had last year. I didn't realize it was that many vacated running back. And I get it. I'll let you get back into it here, but sorry, you got me on a tangent. Everyone's going to say it was because Tom Brady is a dump off machine. Do you know which quarterback led the league in check down throws last year? Baker Mayfield. Baker.
Ooh. See, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that stat.
Yes.
And I'm already sold because Baker Mayfield, he's not good, but he's going to at least be a serviceable quarterback. This is going to be an NFL offense. It's going to be functioning, which I don't know if people realize that, because for some reason, all of these Tampa Bay Buccaneer players are left for dead. It was a terrible offensive line last year, bunch of injuries to the wide receiver core. Now they have invested in the offensive line. They're starting to get healthy again. They have the pass catchers still, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Trey Palmer to take the top off. So with a little bit more room to run behind this offensive line, and with, as we mentioned, 73 targets up for grabs, and unless you believe Keyshawn Vaughn is going to become the Rachaad White to Leonard Fournette of Rachaad White this year, which isn't going to happen, you must believe that Rachaad White is a bell cow when it comes to running the ball and a bell cow in the passing game. So Rachaad White, even though he is going at a ridiculous rate right now, he's going 66th overall over on the FFPC. He could end up being an RB1, even though this offense is not going to be good, but it's not going to be horrendous either.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't know that until I looked it up, and I'm glad I just happened to look up Lenny's pass catching stats last year. That's insane. You may have just sold me on being a Rachaad White guy, which I was not. I don't mind him in this range up on the board. I typically gravitate towards J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, and Cam Akers, but I'm going to be mixing in some Rachaad White because the vacated targets alone are insane. I have a few shares of him. I think I said this before when talking about him. I have tried to not get too overweight with him because I just fear one of these veteran landmines waiting out there is just waiting to ruin my shares of him. You have any fears here that, they might bring someone in and kind of kill his value?
I do not, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been very clear with their actions. Ezekiel Elliott called Skip Peete, the running back coach who used to work with him in Dallas, and said, "Hey, what do you think? Can we talk? What should I do going forward?" And the running back coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers said, "Hey, if you want to come here, you've got to play for $1 million. You have to take the veteran minimum." And Zeke's not playing for the veteran minimum. He has no intention of doing that. And so he's not coming to Tampa Bay. That's why they have Chase Edmonds as their he was running as the RB4. Chase Edmonds is no lock to make this roster, but he is running behind Patrick Laird, who I don't think is going to make the roster. He just knows the system a little bit better. So either way, I don't see a veteran running back as a threat unless it's someone like Marlon Mack. They might sign Marlon Mack because he might play for the veteran minimum. And if Marlon Mack gets you off of Rachaad White, then I'm sorry, but we have reached a point where we can no longer get over this. If you think Marlon Mack is a threat to Rachaad White, it's gone. We can't bridge that gap.
You've sold me. I'm going to go right after this and try and acquire a few shares of him in my dynasty leagues and redraft. And since this is a taped show and doesn't air live, I apologize to whichever league mate I swindle before this episode comes out, because I'm going to go and try and rob someone for Rachaad White right now, or right when the show ends. So thank you very much for that, Jack. I appreciate it.
Oh, you are so welcome, my friend.
let's get into your bust, a guy I am right on board with based on, if nothing else, the fact that he plays in New England with Bill Belichick. Your bust is New England running back Ramondre Stevenson, who is projected by Fantasy Pros as RB12. 1,024.5 rushing yards and 6.3 touchdowns, projected for 57.4 receptions, 382.3 receiving yards, and 1.5 receiving touchdowns. I feel like Fantasy Pros is hedging their bets on the reception totals. I don't know if he's going to have 88 again last year, but 57 seems low. Although New England always has a designated third down pass catcher and gives every indication that they're going to do the same this year, whether it's Ty Montgomery or Pierre Strong. So I guess we'll see. But why is he a bust for you?
There's a couple of reasons, and the reason actually starts with the guy we just talked about, Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette went and visited the New England Patriots, and that was a big deal. Leonard Fournette still has juice. He can still be a bell cow for a couple games. You don't want him to.
So did Zeke.
Yeah, well, Zeke did visit as well. I think Zeke's a little bit different, but we'll get into that in a second. With Leonard Fournette, though, he's taken away targets and he's taken away touchdowns. Now, with Zeke, who also visited, he's taken away touchdowns. He might not take away targets, but Zeke will take third down snaps away because Ezekiel Elliott is still one of the best pass blocking running backs in the NFL. So those are, again, a drop in receptions, a drop in touchdowns for Ramondre Stevenson with these two signings. And then we've got Dalvin Cook coming to visit the New England Patriots if he leaves the New York Jets without a contract, which it seems like he actually might now, which I didn't expect. But anyways, Dalvin Cook coming to the New England Patriots, there is no shot in hell that he finishes as the RB12. So the Patriots have made it clear they want a veteran running back. That's why they brought in James Robinson. It didn't work out, but they want a veteran running back because Ramondre Stevenson himself admitted at the end of the season, he was worn down. He was not healthy. The workload was too much for him. And so just a reduction in volume, if it's less carries, that's okay. Sometimes that happens. But the fact that he will see a reduction in receptions, he will see a reduction in touchdowns, that is what terrifies me. If it was just Ty Montgomery who's been hurt and Pierre Strong and Kevin Harrison might be a little bit better. But even then, Ramondre Stevenson, he's been dealing with some injuries throughout camp so far. He's not practicing today. He's working off to the side. Just as much as I love Ramondre Stevenson, the player, as much as I believe he can be an RB12 if given the requisite volume, I don't think he's going to get that requisite volume, and it makes me sad.
No, this is what the Patriots do. When's the last time they had the same RB1 in back-to-back years? 2016 when it was James White somehow, or 2014 or something like that. But they give every
he was the pass catching back too, right?
Exactly. And he caught an insane amount, which Ramondre did, but they've given every indication that this won't happen again. And even I don't mind Ramondre as a player, but I don't
like player. Great.
I don't like the situation. And for me, it's also, I don't like the range he's going in. This spot here with him, Pollard, and Breece Hall in the late second, early third range, I'm going stud wide receiver here, and I'm passing on these guys, and I'm just shifting completely away from running back. Maybe that's just the way I build my teams. But then I'm waiting a round or two, and that's where I'm getting this round of cheaper guys. Like, I'd rather have Aaron Jones 12 picks later, Gibbs, Joe, all these guys are 1 to 2 rounds later. And I don't think the end of season stats are going to be that much worse than what you get from Ramondre. I'm out at this range on running back right here.
Well, and look at Najee Harris too. Najee Harris going significantly lower than Ramondre Stevenson, but he's going to see more volume. I know we all love Jaylen Warren, but that kind of has jumped the shark at this point. Najee's still a confirmed bell cow. That will not change. It's going to change with Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't see how he returns on this. Even if they don't bring in a free agent, I don't think he can return on RB10 value. If they do bring in someone, I think he's a mid to low end RB2. I just can't see it. It's just not happening. And I have, like I said, I have no shares of him. I have no shares of Pollard, and I have no shares of Hall. Hall's more of I'm avoiding because of the injury concern. And the fact that they too are bringing in every free agent running back, despite the fact that they have 4 running backs I like pretty much, across the board. I like Michael Carter. I like Brees Hall. I like Abanikanda and Bam Knight. But they're going to bring in a fifth, apparently. So I don't know. Do you normally find yourself drafting running backs in this range, or are you a wide receiver in this area too, or?
I just got my first share of Brees Hall the other day. It was a super flex, and I got him in the 5th round. I went quarterback, receiver, receiver, receiver. And so at that point, based on my build, the fact that I've got Cooper Kupp, the fact that I've got AJ Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown paired with Jalen Hurts, then I will consider Brees Hall, because this is a team that I believe is built for a championship. Brees Hall will be strong down the stretch, but that's a 5th round ADP versus a 3rd round ADP. And again, super flex. So
absolutely,
that's the one share I have, though, that's not in Dynasty. Dynasty,
and the value's there though at that point. Which you reminded me, I'm on deck right now in the Raz Bowl. It's a single QB, just your normal league, so no super flex. So it's just the normal startup here for redraft. I'm picking at the 106. I'm on deck, and somehow this draft has gone so weird. I'm going to be left with either Jamar Chase or Travis Kelce at the 106, and I have no idea how.
Is there any? It's not super flex. You already said that.
No, it's not. That's why I looked and I said, "Is this super flex? Why are Chase and Kelce going to be available at 106?" But
how did we get here? What were the first 4 picks?
Just a sec. Let me load
Justin
it up.
Jefferson, obviously.
Jefferson, McCaffrey, Eckler, Bijan, and then we have Guy on deck, who's going to take, I assume, either Chase or Kelce. But I'm rushing to click whoever's left out of the two. I don't care.
Bijan ahead of Jamar. Jamar Chase is the 101 in fantasy this year. At worst, he's the 102 behind Justin Jefferson. And if you're in tight end premium, Travis Kelce's the 101. Oh, it's tight end premium and Travis Kelce's still on the board?
Yeah, so I'm either going to get Chase or Kelce at 106. I don't know how, because it's like, if you look at some of the guys, like, it's a stacked league. I've got Justin Boone, Pat Fitzmaurice. It's not just nobodies. Granted, I think they're drafting later in the draft. I can't see who the top 4 names are because I'm on the app, but I don't know. Somebody's giving me a Christmas gift, like my Scott Fishbowl draft did. I'm ashamed of. Did you see those posts? Me being ashamed of my SFB division, the Cheez-Its. It was basically a player profiler only league. There was like 9 of us, and what did we do? We let one of the smartest, best fantasy analysts I know in Cody Carpentier. We let him stack Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at the 1-2 turn. And I get it. It's super flex and people say it doesn't matter. Well, you're going to have 40 to 50 points a week out of 2 receivers. So yeah, it matters. So
it does matter. And I saw you tweeting in advance too, knowing that it was coming. And they just let it happen anyways.
I messaged him 3 picks before when I was looking. I'm looking how it played, because I was the 101. So I took Mahomes. I know the player profiler has been Kelce. I did 20 mock drafts where I took Kelce. I hated the build. I hated what I was forced to do with quarterback. Maybe I would have been a little more patient, but when I took Kelce, I always rushed to get a quarterback. And then I was like, I hate this build. So I went Mahomes. And then at about 109, I DM'd Cody and I said, man, if these 2 idiots here screw this up and give you the stack, I'm going to lose my mind and quit. And he messaged back, shut up, homie. Don't jinx it on me. And then 10 minutes, he said, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes hoping it would get to my turn, just crossing my fingers. And then it happened. And he messaged me. He said, oh, it happened. I said, well, I guess it's Christmas in July for you. And he tweeted it out. I'm like, I hate you.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
How did you do in your draft?
Great. I went Travis Kelce at the 102. I got Deshaun Watson and Tua Tagovailoa as my quarterbacks. I stacked them with their wide receivers. I got Jalen Waddle stacked with Tua, and I got Amari Cooper stacked with Deshaun Watson. So I'm pretty happy with that. Rachaad White is my RB1. Antonio Gibson, my RB2, another guy that I believe in still. So I'm pretty thrilled with how it turned out for me.
2 things. We have breaking news, not that it matters, but Colts lose running back Zach Moss to a broken arm. I don't really think it's fantasy relevant, but it's something to know. No, okay. See, I would have taken Kelce had I thought I was able to get the quarterbacks you got. If I had done it in my league, I would have ended up getting something like not even Daniel Jones. I forget. I would have ended up with like Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers as my quarterbacks. And I was just like, I don't want this. So, but All right, Jack. Sorry, I kind of got off topic there. Had a little bit of fun with it. It's always good to chat. So you get me talking here.
And no need to apologize at all. It's always a pleasure. We also have some other breaking news. We saw Tim Patrick go down with a non-contact injury in Broncos
Again?
camp. Yeah, brutal. I hope he's okay. I hope this is a nothing burger like the CJ Gardner-Johnson one, but bad news to see him carted off with a non-contact injury. It will mean that Marvin Mims is going to go to the moon with his ADP.
I picked up Patrick last year on waivers and stashed him everywhere. And everyone said, why would you waste it? And I said, he's a free wide receiver 3 at least, or a flex when I get him. But that's disappointing. I liked him. Yep, you're right. Mims is going to go through the roof, and Judy's probably going to go up even further. But
yep.
Anyways, this has been Sleepers, Breakouts, and Busts with Jack Cavanagh. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thank you again to Jack for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. Take care, everyone.